Yeah, so, knowing that, we're one of 40 Asian American centers nationwide, it really is important that we have this space in place. And I don't know for those of you who are aware or not aware, but in 2018 is when the Asian American Center became the entirety of Start House. So the residents of the Asian American House are now in the Hillside Suites, and we still support them in what they're doing in terms of programming and support for students who want to congregate and be in community around each other, around what does it mean to be Asian American, and what does it mean to kind of go through some of these issues that we have in our community. And because we've been the whole house since 2018, that's provided some of its own challenges. Initially, a lot of the older students who kind of remembered Start House of being that one room, they kind of did not have a desire to come into the center because they were like, oh, if I have to ring the bell and then go there, that's kind of a lot of effort. But after that, I would say the students who kind of only have known the center as being open have experienced it differently, and some of them are here. So Elizabeth Hom, who is a former PL and our now 2-year Asian American Community Center, and then Arnav, who is a first-year student. But before they speak, I would just like to introduce Emily Ding, who is the newest addition to the staff at the Asian American Center. So after years of advocacy and advocacy from students and staff, some of the centers were able to hire an additional staff person. So Emily is our first, program assistant. So the other centers, being the Women's Center, LGBT, and Latinx centers, all have second staff persons as well to help us really do the work in supporting the needs of our students. So I'll just turn it over to Emily just to introduce herself a little bit, and then we'll get to meet some of the students. Emily?
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Perfect. Just gotta check on Zoom. So hi everyone, I'm Emily Ding. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns. And yeah, as Aaron said, I'm the new program administrator for the AAC. It's super exciting because I know last year Aaron just had to run around and do everything. And for the previous 30 years, it was just Linnell pretty much. So it's super exciting to, be part of the team. I just started around 2.5 months ago. So in the beginning of August, I think that's 2.5 months, right? And yeah, I moved to Cambridge area in the midst of this wild pandemic, but excited to be here. I've been working from home, as you can see, but I'm excited for in the future when I can be in the center physically more. But I guess a little bit about my role or myself first. So I'm originally from New Jersey. I went to Rutgers State School in New Jersey, and a lot of my undergrad involvement was at our Asian American Center. And as Aaron said, like having Asian American centers is still rare across the country, but I think that work as an undergrad kind of launched me into what I do full time. I got my master's at UMass Amherst like a year ago. So since then, I've been working with Asian American students. So this past year, I was working in Indianapolis, but now I'm excited to be back on the East Coast. But having, been a part of like cultural center work, I know like having staff and those resources is so important. So I'm excited that this position exists and should continue to exist and hopefully will continue expanding in future years. So a little bit about what I do in terms of my position. Well, our students population has grown so much. So our incoming Asian American class, our class of Asian American first years this year, which Arnav is a part of, is 390 students. So it's a ton. I'm pretty sure it's bigger than any before. But that means we also have a really big team at the center. So we have our peer leaders who mentor the first years, and we're up to 19 peer leaders, and as well as a 20th student who is our lead peer leader to help assist with that program. And then separately, we have our peer interns. I think, there were interns previously in the center, but Aaron kind of expanded the intern program last year. And now with Arnav being one of them, we have 10 interns, and they do a lot of programming for the general population at the center, and just help out how they can. Um, yeah, Juyeon, I know Aaron mentioned to me that you know Balja, and Balja raved about you during his interview. So he along with Arnav are our two first year interns on our team. So we're super excited to have some younger students to kind of grow with the center and everything. So yeah, I guess that's my rambling explanation. I will pass it on to Arno to talk about. No, actually, we're going with Elizabeth first, right? So Elizabeth, if you want to introduce yourself first.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. I am a current junior at Tufts. I'm class of 2022, and I'm studying computer science in School of Engineering. But more importantly, I have been really involved in the Asian American community, and it's a really important community to me. As a first year, the peer leader program was really huge for me, and they was a huge level of support. I'm still really good friends with my peer leader. And then as a sophomore, I wanted to become a peer leader myself. So I did that program last year, and all of them are some of my best friends till today. I actually live with 3 of my peer leader friends that I met through the program. So yeah, and currently I'm the Asian American Community Senator. Like Aaron mentioned, this is my 2nd year doing it. So if you don't know, the Asian American Community Senator is essentially like a Senate position under TCU Senate, which is like the student government organization. So TCU Senate generally interfaces with admin. They work on projects that students really want to see at Tufts and things that students care about, and trying to get those in the eyes of the administrators. Specifically on Senate, there are, I think, 6 or 7 community senator positions, which are there's essentially 1 for each of the corresponding centers. So I'm the Asian American Community Senator, and in that role, I'm really lucky and get to work with Aaron and hopefully more with Emily this year.
I'm at the Tufts
And last year, I worked on a couple projects. Some things that mattered to me were hiring the program administrator, so Emily's position. I think also I'm really passionate about seeing professors of color at Tufts, especially in the RCD. Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah, so also I think especially with Aaron's first year, it was a really great opportunity to try all these different things and seeing what the center needed in the modern day. When I was a first year, that was the first year that the center was fully open. And I think it sounds like my experience and all of our experiences that our current students have with the center is really different than what it used to be. The center was a huge part of my freshman year and still is. I remember being able to just walk into the center and there would be my friends and I'd see tons of people just hanging out on all the different floors. So I could walk in at any time and see friends, and we'd cook together sometimes, we'd study together late in the night. So it definitely is a really special place now. And we're all expectantly looking forward for it to be open again soon. So definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, so TCU Senate and being as the Asian American Community Center is definitely one of my something I really care about doing at Tufts, and I'm really lucky to be able to work with such awesome people like Aaron, Emily, as well as all the interns. Yeah, together we get to work on really cool projects. Last year I worked on trying to better connect the Asian American student orgs with the center, and that's something I hope to continue this year, as well as just supporting the staff in the ways that they need with the administration. Yeah, and because I'm a junior, my job is made easy because of all the different staff members, especially the interns. And Arnav is a current first year intern, and I think he's gonna talk a little bit about his experience now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elizabeth, and everyone else for sharing. So I'm Arnav. I'm a first year from Maryland, considering majoring in economics, and I'm also a peer intern at the AAC. I kind of honestly joined and applied on a whim. I just saw a post on Instagram, so I was like, okay, why not apply? It's a cool job and people are cool. And I want to say that my experiences as a first year this year have definitely been unusual given the situation. You know, we're living in this virtual world and things are different, but I'm really happy to see how the AAC is adapting, whether that's a virtual game night that I'm actually going to go to in like 5 minutes, or buying grab and go snacks, and even actually to replicate the open hours that Elizabeth talked about, we're actually setting up our own virtual AAC hours where our virtual backgrounds are going to be pictures of the AAC and all of that. So what I've seen so far is that the Asian American community is focused on adapting to the needs of the current time, and I'm really happy and proud to be a part of that. Personally, I'm interested in seeing how we can innovate and try to be inclusive of all the Asian identities on campus. As Emily mentioned, my first year class is probably one of the largest Asian communities, and I'm looking to see how we can connect to that community across all different sub-Asian communities. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me, and I think we have Q&A now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth and Arnav. I did see one question from Susan Chinsen, which she asked, can you share more about the type of uses of the Start House by students pre-COVID?
Yeah, so currently the centers are all closed just due to the like individual size capacities of the rooms. You know, some rooms can only hold 2 people, physically distant at 6 feet. Some could hold 3, and we just didn't know at the onset of the pandemic of what, you know, would community spread look like on campus. Thankfully, a lot of the efforts that the institution has undertaken to keep the community safe has actually gone pretty well. And you know, there are some talks to potentially thinking about what would being open in the spring semester for maybe a day or 2 every week to provide that space for students to look like. But those are still in preliminary talks. I think, you know, pre-COVID, the center was kind of used for everything. So the most popular room, I would say, would be the 3rd floor space, like the lounge space, because they turned that into the Mural Room, which is one of the most beloved spaces. Students just love hanging out there. It's always like kind of trying to be quiet walking up the stairs because like 95% of the time there are people napping there. Even though like most of the students live nearby, they just choose to nap at the center. So a lot of the student groups love to use the space and hold a lot of their events there. So when the center is fully open, we're open, you know, without tap access from 9 to 6. So students can just open the door and walk in, and then they have to tap to enter from 6 to 10 p.m. So it allows them to really be at the space and utilize the space. I'm not there till 10, thankfully. Some days I am just to like support student groups, but that's where the intern staff comes in. They're really there to help students navigate the space. One of the more popular spaces is the kitchen because, you know, especially if you're a first year and you're in a traditional double, you don't have that, you know, opportunity to utilize the kitchen. So at all hours of the day, it either smells like shin ramen or no, it's just shin ramen. That's actually what it just smells like 95% of the time. So, but with that too, like that's, I think some of the more popular events that the peer leaders did last year were like teaching other students how to cook dishes that were important to them. So we did like a spring roll night. I forget what other, I think like the Filipino student group, which is one of the newer groups, like did a cooking event as well. So yeah, students like love the fire escape, and I tell them like, please don't take pictures there. And without fail, like I'll see people like sharing pictures on Instagram and tagging the centers of them sitting on the fire escape. And I'm like, please don't do that. So, but yeah, I would say they kind of use the center for everything that, you know, they feels like home to them. So even joking, they were like, students were like, oh, should we just, you know, tell students that they have to take their shoes off when they come into the center? So it like feels like, you know, a true Asian American household. And I was like, you know, it could get kind of grody with the New England winters here. So let's probably not do that. But it just shows the ways that the community has really taken up making the space really for them.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Aaron. I also love the fact that you use the word grody. I haven't heard that in a while. So I love the fact that you use that. I did see a couple of comments that Jeannie mentioned that class of 90 had only like 70 something Asian American students. I think Linnell used to tell me that our class was the smallest Asian American class on record. I think it was like 50 something students. And then it slowly but surely grew to what it is now, thankfully. But yeah, Linnell used to say we were by far the smallest group of students, Asian American students she had. But one of the benefits was we were able to bond. We were able to bond more closely with each other, with our peer advisors. Gary was my peer advisor who really guided me through many difficult times and a couple of embarrassing times. We won't get into those, but those were fun. So exactly. I guess one question I have, Aaron, is folks can't live in the center anymore, correct? Just due to sort of fire laws or things like that. What's going on there now? What's the deal with that?
Students like to think they can live at the center because sometimes they're there until like God knows when. But because of the students really wanting more space for programming and other various things out of the Asian American Center, the Asian American House is now at the 110's Hillside Suites. So there's about 12 students in normal times that live in the Hillside apartments, the Asian American House. Currently, occupancy is about 6 due to the pandemic. Students just chose not to come back. Some students chose not to come back. So in addition to like the other houses like that are kind of co-advised by the centers, like the LGBT Center has Rainbow House, the Latinx Center has La Casa. So it's kind of like similar situations where the centers co-advise with residential life for some things that they do.
Oh, great! Thank you for sharing that. I know we're going to be heading out to breakout rooms momentarily. Would the students would like Amy just chatted? Would the students have anything they'd like to add, or any questions they have for Asian American alumni to help them either personally or professionally, especially during this year?
Oh, just Elizabeth then. Arnav had to go.
Oh, there's only, that's right, Arnav. I just saw the chat. Arnav had to leave for game night. Good for him. That'll be great. And and Jeannie, so was your roommate, was that Barbara? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Because we had, well, the only reason I ended up at Start House was I had this horrendous lottery number and was going to be in McAllister House, and so I had an in.
Was that senior year? Because I lived there
sophomore year.
Get out. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, and thank you to Cherry. Thank you for spending time with us. Have fun at game night. I guess it is trying to stay on schedule. It is 7 o'clock, so we're gonna head out to breakout rooms now.